Steam Next Fest returns, and with it over 3,000 demos to sink your teeth into. With so many tricks and treats to pass, you might be wondering which ones are worth your attention now, and maybe your money when they hit a full release. Well, in another round of rapid-fire recommendations, I'm highlighting some exciting new concepts and a few returning favourites. So without further delay, here are my top picks from October's showcase. In what might be 2024's most pleasant surprise, the overworked hero of 2019's Wilmot Warehouse has been given some well-deserved downtime in the low-stakes spin-off Wilmot Works It Out. Instead of juggling a warehouse full of items for impatient customers, the clocks are stopped, the doors are closed, and you've got all the time in the world to piece together incomplete puzzle blocks into priceless artworks, perfect for adorning Wilmot's initially bare walls. Some puzzles start out incomplete, but later deliveries fill in the missing pieces, and the challenge here isn't about logistics but instead simple image recognition. It's a gentle brain teaser, offering a calm, relaxing vibe instead of the stress of the original's time management. As sequels go, it's a lateral slide into Wilmot's world. Giving us a peek at his life outside of work, it's hard not to feel for our cuboid friend when his idea of fun is pushing blocks around just like he does day to day, only now it's for his own satisfaction. The occasional visit from a friendly postwoman even hints at Wilmot's stubbornness to think outside the box. But towards the demo's end, and a far less cheery visit from said postwoman, there is a tease that perhaps it won't just be picture puzzles Wilmot will be asked to work out. Based on the original Wilmot's Warehouse, it's likely this adventure is going to introduce new wrinkles to worry over before too long. But for now, it's charming to see Wilmot's robust block-moving mechanics repurposed for a more laid-back game of picture-making and house decoration. One of the more ambitious demos at Next Fest, the Precinct offers an independent but no less ambitious take on Rockstar's Grand Theft Auto. The twist is that you're on the other side of the law, playing as a rookie officer's first beat in a Vernon city. As one of the highest rated demos at Next Fest, I wanted to see what all the hype was about. Apart from its bona fides as a crime-ridden sandbox, its presentation really sets it apart. Precinct is a top-down shooter that blends XCOM 2's tactical intensity with the frenetic energy of Hotline Miami. Shootouts feel as intense as they would from an over-the-shoulder view, but the top-down angle evokes the feel of real police aerial footage. That perspective extends to vehicle pursuits, whether you're on the ground in a cruiser or up in the air in a helicopter. This consistent camera angle not only keeps gameplay accessible, but also gives the world a playful, toy-like quality, perfectly aligned with the developer's intent. The Precinct is a crime sandbox full of iconic cop movie moments, including the often overlooked nitty-gritty paperwork. The game strikes a balance between the stark realities of police work and the explosive movie moments. You kick things off at an intense shootout with bank robbers, only to find yourself issuing parking tickets and finding graffiti artists the very next day. So while the game may aim for Michael Mann's heat, it feels a little more mild. Despite its intriguing gameplay, including the more CRPG-inspired groundwork, the narrative leaves much to be desired. The story unfolds through visual novel-style cutscenes, marked by awkward voice acting and an inconsistent tone. What's worse, the sometimes cringe-worthy synthwave soundtrack further nudges the game into becoming a police farce. That said, I can see the appeal of the Precinct. Its immediate action, unique camera angles, and blend of everyday police work with high-stakes shootouts explains why it's getting attention. Personally, I think this force may need some internal investigation before its full release. The cutscenes and storytelling feel stuck between grounded realism and cheesy schlock, and committing to one would give the game a clearer identity. Given its 80s setting and the delicate subject matter of playing as a gun-toting cop, leaning into a lighter, goofier tone might just be what the chief ordered. So I'd say the Precinct is definitely one to keep an eye on, but I'd suggest holding off on calling it in just yet. One of 2024's top trends has been blending roguelite deck builders with an unexpected flavour, and StarVaders delivers by mixing that strategic, turn-based card play with the arcade classic Space Invaders. The goal is still stopping alien menaces from reaching the bottom of the screen, but now you've got to work with the cards you're dealt and limited moves each turn. There you'll be sliding your battle mech between columns, firing shots, and activating special moves to defend yourself and the Earth. There's a few neat mechanical flourishes to the format that give StarVaders some comic book inspired flair. One mech, for example, lets you exceed your move limit by overheating, literally burning cards from future turns as a trade-off. Another, in a ninja-inspired twist, lets you throw cards as shuriken, turning useless draws into deadly projectiles. It's all about having fun with the mechanics, and that creativity extends to enemies with their own surprises, like attacking entire columns or splitting into smaller threats. In a few hours of this rather robust demo, I've been pleasantly surprised by how often StarVaders surprised me. It has that same magic games like Balatro conjure, where synergies and strategies develop and very suddenly you're an alien ass-kicking machine. But even during downtime, figuring out new moves is fun, and the game's sharp sense of style only adds to the experience. Even after my time with the demo, I'm excited to see what new mech and alien designs show up in a fuller version. StarVaders is an easy recommendation for anyone looking for a fresh take on the genre, but like Balatro, it's also a great entry point for newcomers. With its Space Invaders theme and simple mechanics, it's the perfect on-ramp, and with quick turns between rounds and a rather intuitive interface, it would be an ideal phone game you could easily lose hours in. Every Next Fest has one game that stands out purely on vibes, whether it's a unique visual style, a killer soundtrack, or an attitude all of its own. Doing that and more, HYPERBEAT is easily the coolest experience from this festival. Drawing from influences as varied as Sonic and the Black Knight, Rares, and Osu, HYPERBEAT takes you on a literal journey through breakcore, where your polygonal knight smashes and slashes through beats. While there are high scores to chase, the real focus is on having fun, diving into a dreamlike world of music and rhythm, with visuals that feel like they're projected on the walls of an underground club. What really makes HYPERBEAT captivating beyond its incredible original soundtrack is that immediately striking aesthetic. It's a wild mix of Vib Ribbon-like vector art, haunted castle imagery, broad-speech synthesis, and dreamy Times New Roman rendered writing. One of my favourite details is the game's inclusion of a visual widget for your control interface. HYPERBEAT is designed for whatever you're comfortable with, a controller, mouse and keyboard, or even a graphics tablet for freaks like me. But in a quirky touch, it even acknowledges the DS and PSP, two devices that can't natively run it, but feel spiritually at home with its throwback low-poly look and MP3 player gameplay. On that note, the game will have workshop support on full release, and I'm excited to see other fitting tracks give this game a never-ending playlist. HYPERBEAT feels like it was plucked straight out of the early 2010s portable gaming era, one of those quirky, underrated gems that cool kids would rave about, and would subsequently go on to inspire more games like it. And for that reason, I'm including HYPERBEAT here as a must-try for anyone looking for something truly unique. When it comes to roguelike deck builders, one area that's surprisingly underexplored is competitive multiplayer. Most traditional card games are built on player versus player action, but in video game adaptations you're usually pitted against asymmetric AI. That's why Battle Train is such a refreshing twist, bringing level head-to-head competition to the forefront, even if in this demo and potential final game it's against computer-controlled opponents. Battle Train combines roguelike deck building with the classic LucasArts game Pipe Mania. And yes, if you've ever wondered what the hacking minigame in Bioshock and countless Flash games was based on, you're welcome. Set in a chaotic version of the American frontier, the goal is to lay tracks that drive explosive steam engines into enemy territory, destroying their outposts while defending your own. You need direct rail lines to attack, and in an interesting twist, you can connect your tracks to your opponents, creating a tangled web of potential destruction. The map is also covered in gem mines that generate extra currency for buying cards, and those cards come with extra attacks, like bombs and barriers, adding layers of strategy to the chaos. Styled as an alternate reality game show, Battle Train has an irreverent humour and a visual flair reminiscent of shows like Clone High. The limited animation style fits the explosive action well, and while the humour wasn't entirely my thing, it definitely suits the wild tone of the game show featuring trains blowing up. These cutscenes also feature a cool mix of 2D assets and 3D environments, giving it a pretty distinct look. I do wonder if the focus on this setup and the game's handful of big personalities is Hades inspired, as each figure has fan art ready appeal. Fortunately, it's backed by a game worth playing. Battle Train caught my eye from its first snippets of gameplay, and I'm happy to say it lived up to my expectations. The demo offers enough progression and replayability to tackle its tough final encounter, and it's definitely worth trying, especially if you're curious to see how this mashup of genres plays out. I can easily see this game gaining a cult following when it releases, but if there's one thing I'd love to see, it's the addition of local multiplayer. The game's already a perfect fit for it, and I want to start challenging my friends to a game, a Battle Train. I've been on the fence about revisiting Summit Sphere's ANTONBLAST since trying out an early demo during its Kickstarter announcement, but that video is now over 2 years old, and with all the tweaks the team have made since, no longer fully reflects the game's current state. So I want to give Anton one more blast, but I'll keep this preview short as I'm likely to cover the full release as well. It's been satisfying to see how Summit Sphere has grown as a studio since their debut. With ANTONBLAST, they've moved beyond the Wario-like comparisons and the GBA-inspired aesthetic, all while keeping the charm that made those influences appealing. What's especially exciting is how the game has since carved out its own mechanical and artistic identity. While it sticks to the extraction platformer formula of getting in and out of levels, the gameplay feels far more explosive and original, making it hard to compare to its contemporaries. Playing as either Dynamite Anton or Annie, your goal is simple: level everything in sight, collect your spirits, and make it back in time for happy hour. The game fully embraces destruction, encouraging you to blow through the environments to tear open new paths through levels. New to this version I'm demoing are clutch and bash moves. Similar to the boost mechanics in Crash Team Racing, these moves let you build up speed with well-timed inputs, adding a layer of strategy to the momentum-based platforming. When you get it right, you'll be blasting through levels with satisfying speed, but if you're just starting out, it's not essential to finish stages. The game makes it so fun that it naturally pushes you to master it. Also new in this demo are transformations like a jet-powered surfboard that sacrifices fine control for raw power, letting Anton and Annie smash through obstacles like one-ton weights. But what's been a cool surprise is how much the art style, music and overall presentation have improved since that first demo. There's now cutscenes with full voice acting, with a chunky, aliased aesthetic that moves beyond the GBA tie-in look and gives the game a fully cartoonish feel. The character and enemy sprites have become much more expressive, leaning into an anarchic, graffiti-inspired style that suits the game's urban chaos. It's also great to see characters from Anton Ball Deluxe expanded here, alongside new faces. It feels like Summit Sphere is crafting a whole Anton multiverse, and I'm all for it. The demo is short, but there are levels I've seen in other builds that I'm excited to experience again in the full version. Compared to its initial Kickstarter pitch, ANTONBLAST is now a much more confident product that doesn't even need my recommendation, because it's standing strong in its own. And with a release on the Nintendo Switch, it's sure to satisfy anyone looking to fill a Wario-shaped void in their collection. If you're in the mood for something less mentally taxing this next fest, I'd recommend Pie in the Sky. It's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater for the N64, but you're a chaotic Australian magpie terrorizing the suburbs and shorelines. You can gorge yourself on garbage, dive bomb joggers, and drop junk on unsuspecting victims. It's another Aussie-developed bird-based mischief simulator to pair with Untitled Goose Game. But unlike UGG, which leans into slow burn pranks, Pie in the Sky cranks up the pace with a Pro Skater style mission system and a tight timer, pushing you towards high-intensity chaos. You'll also be collecting letters and trinkets, responding to requests, and hitting high scores to unlock new levels. While the game certainly isn't taking itself too seriously, it's hard not to love the sheer fun of wreaking havoc as a mischievous magpie. Finally, I want to shine a light on the sequel to one of my favourite RPGs in recent memory, Citizen Sleeper. I covered the original in a previous video about cool games, and I've been eagerly anticipating its follow-up since, not only to see how the team develops on the themes and storylines from the first game, but also how they'll expand on its clever board game-inspired systems. This teaser focuses primarily on the latter, though there are a few intriguing story developments as well. The sequel picks up with a new sleeper on the run with a human companion, scraping by on a desolate space station as they take on work to buy their way out of trouble. Much like the original, you'll forge connections with the station's unique inhabitants, using those relationships to navigate the game's challenges. However, there's a significant twist this time. These characters aren't just there to push the story forward. New to the sequel are away missions where you explore derelict spaceships to scavenge parts, and these missions allow you to bring along crew members with their own stats and dice rolls. It's a subtle but exciting expansion, as these characters now fill strategic roles and provide you with new ways to tip the odds in your favour. The demo itself was tough, and in fact this away mission had ended in failure my first time. Fortunately, I wasn't playing Sleeper 2's newly introduced hard mode, where characters you've built relationships with can die if you make too many bad moves. However, to compensate for bad plays, there's also a new mechanic called Push, which lets you skew dice rolls in your favour at the cost of your own health, a mechanic borrowed from Powered by the Apocalypse systems that I love. I'm glad to see it integrated here, adding even more depth to the decision making. Overall, Citizen Sleeper 2 raises the stakes compared to the original, and I'm eager to see how this more intense tone plays out over a full playthrough. Another new feature that stood out was a consistent home base, which passively generates currency and other resources between cycles. The removal of stabilizer usage also helped balance the difficulty, but I'm curious about how this shift will impact the story in the long run. Together, however, they create a new kind of story about a character who is more established and self-reliant than the one you occupy in the 2022 original. What excites me most about Citizen Sleeper 2 is that broader scope. The opening moments tease a sprawling cyberpunk dystopia before shifting to a new map with entire worlds beyond the starting space station to explore. It's a literal expansion over the first game, shifting the focus from intimate connections in isolation to a much grander narrative. That alone has me counting down the days until the fall release. Those were my standout picks from October 2024's Steam Next Fest, but they're just a few highlights from a ton of great demos. So now it's your turn. What games caught your eye this Next Fest and why? Drop your recommendations in the comments below and let me know what you're most excited to see hit full release. Until next time, I'm James and I'll see you all in the next upload.